Assalamualaikum. Today I'm going to present about the UED questions. Let's look at to the question. So the first task is two friends. The task is two friends, Halim and Ina, are antique money collectors. Solve the following problem based on their antique collections. Both Halim and Ina has the same number of antique RM notes. Halim had a number of 5 ringgit Malaysia notes and 64 1 ringgit Malaysia notes. These notes had a mass of 9.45 gram. Ina had a number of 5 ringgit Malaysia notes and 104, which is 104 1 ringgit Malaysian notes. So for the question A, who has more money in notes and by how much? And the second question is, given that each 5 ringgit note is 0.024 gram more heavier than a 1 ringgit Malaysian note, what is the mass of Ina's notes in gram? So if we look at this question, both Halim and Ina, we look at the keyword. Both Halim and Ina has the same number of antique RM notes. So the keyword is the same number of antique RM notes. And the question give 5 ringgit notes. The question give 5 ringgit notes but do not give the total of the 5 ringgit notes. But we have 1 ringgit notes, which is 64 for Halim, and the 1 ringgit notes for Ina is 104, which is it's not same notes for 1 ringgit, but 5 ringgit we don't know. If we look at the 64 and 104, it is not same for 1 ringgit notes. It is mean like it is mean the 5 ringgit notes for Halim and Ina is also not the same, because the keyword is said Ina and Halim has the same number of antique RM notes. So the question gives this note had a mass of 9.45 gram for Halim's money, but not Ina. So how to calculate and solve this question? Let's check it out now.
The next step is devising a plan. For this step, we can begin with list down the strategies that we use for this question specifically. So these are the type of strategies that we use for this question, which is make a table, write an equation, and use a guess and check. So let's just read the questions once again for us to make familiar with the implication of the strategies.
From the question given, we can simply highlight important keywords with different colors. Blue line indicates Halim and Ina has the same number of antique RM notes. Yellow line indicates unknown number of RM5 note for each Halim and Ina. Green line indicates the number of RM1 note that Halim and Ina have. Red line indicates the mass of Halim's note. And the last one, pink line, indicates the mass of each RM5 note, which is 0.024 gram more heavier than RM1 note. Moving on, we can understand the question much easier by making a table. All the important keywords that we can take from the question can be replaced into a table form. As we can see from the table, we have three variables, which is x, y, and z. X and y indicates the unknown number of RM5 note for Halim and Ina. Z indicates the mass of RM1 note, and 0.024 gram plus Z indicates the mass of each RM5 note. Then we can continue with writing an equation based on the keyword collected from the question. Since Halim and Ina has the same number of antique RM notes, we can simply write as x plus 64 equals to y plus 104. So x minus y is equals to 40. But we cannot find the value of x neither y. It can be any numbers. In that case, the only option we have is by guessing and checking. What I meant by this is if x minus y is equals to 40, then x must be larger than y. So we can guess the value of x and y by their highest and lowest possible outcomes. We can have x as 41 and y as 1. The last equation we can write is 41 multiplied by z plus 0.024 plus 64 multiplied by z is equals to 9.45 gram. We can use this equation to find the mass of Ina's node later by finding the value of z at the first place.
Now we have identified all the unknown. We can solve the equation. We already know that x is equals to Halim's 5 ringgit and y is equals to Ina's 5 ringgit. Now we can make the equation x plus 64 is equals to y plus 104. Solving the equation, we get x minus y is equals to 40. Now we know that the difference between them is 40. X must be bigger than y because we must balance the equation x plus 64 is equals to y plus 104. So it has the same answer. We cannot use the number 40 as our highest possible outcome because y will be equal to 0. So in order to solve it, we must add 1 to both sides of the equation. So it becomes 41 plus 64 is equals to 1 plus 104. As x, which is the highest possible outcome, will be equals to 41 and y, which is the lowest possible outcome, will be equals to 1. By adding on both sides of the equation, we get the answer 105. Now we know that both Halim and Ina have 105 antique notes. With all the unknown identified, we can subtract the equation to identify both antique notes' value. Halim has 269, while Ina has 109. By subtracting both numbers, we get 160 ringgit. So Halim has more money, which was 269 ringgit, and the difference between both of them is 106 ringgit. Moving on to the next question, we know that 5 ringgit note is 0.025 gram heavier than 1 ringgit note. So we can declare Z is equals to 1 ringgit note's mass. We already identify Halim's antiques note mass, which is 9.45 gram. Substitute the equation. Now we can solve the equation and we will get Z is equals to 0.08063. Now we can find Ina's antique notes mass by using Z we have identified earlier. Solving this equation, we finally know that Ina's antique notes mass is 8.49 gram.
So here is a last step, step 4, which is looking back or check back your answer. From the question, we know that Halim and Ina has the same value of node. Then the equation that we got is x plus 64 equal to y plus 104, where x refers to a number of RM5 Halim node, while y refers to a number of Rm5 inner node. We know that the value of x is equal to 41 and y is equal to 1. After solving this, we can see that Halim and Ina has the same value of nodes. After we get the node of Rm5 that Halim and Ina has, we can find who has more money. So Halim has 41 Rm5 plus we 64 Rm1. So Halim has Rm 269, while Ina has 1 Rm5 plus we 104 Rm1. So Ina has Rm 109. The conclusion is Halim has more money than Ina, which is Halim has Rm 269. Okay, let's move to the next question. From the question, we know that Rm5 node is 0.024 gram more heavier than Rm1 node. So Z is a variable for Rm1 node. First, we need to calculate the value of Z. As we know, the total of mass Halim's node is 9.45 gram. Then we can calculate the value of variable Z. So 41 times in bracket Z plus 0.024 plus V 64 times Z equal to 9.45. Then 41Z plus 0.984 plus V 64Z equal to 9.45. Then 105Z equal to 8.466. So we get the value of Z is 0.08060 gram. But the question asks to find mass of Ina node in gram. As we know, Ina has 1 Rm5 and 104 Rm1. So we can find the mass of Ina node. So 1 times in bracket Z plus 0.024 plus 104 times Z. We know that the value of Z is 0.0806. After we put the value of Z in the equation, we can find the mass of Ina node. So 1 times 1.10463 plus 104 times 0.08063. So the mass of Ina node is 8.49 gram.